And I tend to be of the mindset that I will organize everything that I want to film. I kind of like to make sure that when we do things, we know when we're filming or we're not filming.
Before we started recording, you talked about how you aren't even like a big caffeine guy. So do you just naturally exude like a tremendous amount of energy or what? Okay, so this was kind of creepy, the thing that I did. So
Oh dear. Oh no.
All right.
I hope that goes in the show.
This is what happened. I would highly recommend spending the extra money on the good toilet paper.
Yeah, true. No, you know what? Now, when you put it that way, I realize how precious it is, you know.
These children have created the most amazing piece of entertainment imaginable in human history, and you wonder why people aren't like lining up to watch some reboot of some movie that they never saw in the first place. Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. I am Kevin Lieber. It is TCU night, which is Wednesday night, every single Wednesday night. We never miss one. It is amazing. There's remarkable consistency here in the Create Unknown. 6 p.m. Eastern. We're live in Discord, on Discord, within Discord, around Discord with our patrons in the creator chat and some lurkers just hanging around. And with me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
Yeah, you're right. We haven't missed in a very long time. We've missed individually, but we haven't missed as a show in a while, and it looks like that streak is still going. We got a couple exciting things. The first one is that Kevin and I will be with the Formula E race in New York City. It's in Red Hook, Brooklyn this weekend, and we're excited to check those cars out because they're electric. So think of like F1 racing, but with electric cars, and they go like 0 to 100 kilometers in something like 2.8 seconds. So this is going to be wild to watch that up close, and we'll talk about how that goes next weekend. But yeah, thank you to Formula E for hooking us up with that. We're excited to check that out. And then we got a little bit about shirts, don't we?
That's right. That's right. These shirts are nearing completion. I actually spoke with the company today. They're putting in the finishing touches. If you don't know, we're putting some bells and whistles on these shirts, and basically that's all that's left to do is to add the tingling bells and the whistles that you blow in. Imagine if we actually did like sew bells and whistles like into the collars and sleeves of these shirts. Maybe that'll be the next batch of shirts that we do. We'll literally put bells and whistles on them.
We could make an exclusive Morris dancing pair of pants in honor of all of our British guests. They put bells around the calves, like in the shins, and Morris dancing, and like beat sticks and everything as they dance around. But it's sort of like wearing a tambourine, and I think that would be pretty good, solid merch for this podcast.
Yeah. So if you are a ninja or some sort of stealth agent, you're not going to want to wear that merch because you will be unable to sneak up on anyone properly.
The wrong merch for you.
Otherwise, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Look forward to that. But yeah, we have a great guest that I'm really excited to speak with. And we've been, I actually first talked about this guest coming on like almost 7 months ago now. So I'm really excited that we are finally able to sync up.
Yeah, and we're used to talking to creators and artists who have spent many, many years grinding away, doing what they love before they get even a glimpse of the spotlight. But tonight, we're talking to Jack Manifold instead. If you've heard of the Minecraft personality Thunder1408, in May of last year, after global lockdowns had become the norm, you were about one of 100 people who subbed to a niche gaming channel run by a secondary school kid. If you'd heard of Jack Manifold just 1 year later, it was because by then he'd already established himself in the who's who of the who's who of the who's who of the Minecraft community. And this all seemed to have launched after Tommy, Inna, and Tubbo conspired to get #ThunderForServer trending on Twitter. And after successfully joining the mega-popular Dream SMP Minecraft server, Jack Manifold became Jack Manifold, whose name is now in the same breath with Tommy Dream, Wilbur Soot, TCU alumni like Quackity and Jay Schlatt, and soon-to-be Slimesicle, which we've just leaked right now. Jack went from averaging around 28 live viewers per stream to 28,000, and he's had as many as 175,000 live at one time. To put that in perspective, that is very nearly filling England's Wembley Stadium 3 times over. And if you'd asked somebody 40 years ago who could actually pull that off, the only realistic answer was Freddie Mercury. Kevin and I were quite legally sipping Guinness in Old Speckled Hen. Jack Manifold was quite literally a fetus. And despite this, he can break into spats of serious wisdom about, say, separating work from life with different setups in different rooms and having separate business and personal phones and all the things it took us 20 years of experience to discover. Jack's exploded in a year, but it's clear that he's still going. So Jack, what is the difference between your life a year ago today and your life right now?
Just first and foremost, just quickly, thank you for all that. That was like a lot to just say about a person. Also, the length of research that went into that statement, I'd forgotten about some of it. The Thunder for Server thing, it was like, I was like, what? Oh yeah, I remember that. That's weird, but thank you. Firstly, for all you had to say. But yeah, no, my life a year ago, let's think, what is it now? It's crazy to think about because it's all a massive blur. But what? It's July now, so I would have just finished my A-levels. Well, that's not strictly true. Because of COVID, we got kicked out like months in advance. But I should have been strictly like doing the exams. And I had been streaming for. Well, I started streaming completely. Like I hadn't really streamed at all prior to December of 2019. So would have been streaming for a few months. Just finished school. Basically just in the middle of my summer holidays with nowhere to go because I'd like just been put under a massive lockdown. And then now I'm traveling more than I've ever traveled, doing it for work, weirdly enough. It's all really surreal. It's very different. It's very, very different because like the world opened up and it opened up all this opportunity for like content. So I've been doing a lot of the IRL stuff with vlogs and things. And it's just so fun. It's so fun. So I'd say it's a lot more fun. There's your summary.
What sort of places have you been traveling to and how do you go about selecting where you're going and why you're going there?
So with at the moment, I've basically only traveled the UK. I have plans to go further afield, but that's just like not feasible at the moment. So I've done I've done a lot of things like down south, south coast, so like Brighton. I've done a few things in London, but also I like to kind of stay to local things as well, because with the vlogs thing, it's kind of like the way I decide things is I look at things there are to do. And God bless my parents, they help out a lot with this as well. It's just like it's like, what could we do? And it's like, what are activities that are like available for people to like do? And it's like, okay, could we film this? Would this be funny? So like the other day I went to a farm like 20 minutes away from me, like because they had this thing there that I thought was really fun. I don't want to spoil it. Actually, no, I totally spoiled it on stream the other day by accident. I did goat yoga the other day at this local farm.
What?
Nice.
Yeah, you ever heard of goat yoga? You know what that is?
No. What
So
is
They have
that?
a barn
It's like
for it
normal-
like an hour away, but I haven't ever seen it.
Yeah, so it's like just normal yoga, but they just put goats in there with you.
Why?
And goats they just love climbing. It's
tiny
really
ones,
funny.
yeah.
That's why. It's just fun. You just get to pet these animals and then you like do a yoga pose and it'll just climb on your back and like balance on it. And like you can do like push-ups with goats and things. It's really fun. They have also like, you get a bunch of goats in a pen and they'll start like trying to headbutt each other. And then they might try and challenge you. And then that's a whole ordeal. Like there's a lot going on in goat yoga to think about. It's just like normal yoga, but more enjoyable. That's basically where I
More
put it.
enjoyable. There are fewer things I can think of that I would ever want to do than yoga plus a goat climbing on me. Like that's like a horrible thing mixed with a terrible
bad,
thing.
But it's really funny. Actually, no, I do have quite a sore back now. But like, I'm
they
trying
smell?
to ignore it because
Are they
I did
smelly
have fun.
goats?
No, they didn't smell too bad. They do poo the whole time.
The whole time.
We were promised we'd get peed on. We were like, the lady was like, "You will be peed on." And she's like, we're like, "Whoa, what's your pee rate? Like, what is your pee rate per class? How many people get peed on?" She's like, 100%. Every class, someone gets peed on. This is not like a you might. This is a you will.
You will.
So this podcast, 100% of the guests on this podcast get peed on. You've come to the right podcast. Get ready.
That's really concerning, bearing in mind I'm sat in my own home. I don't like thinking about logistically how you're going to make that happen is worrying me.
Yeah.
But like, cool. I mean, it's a unique twist. There's lots of podcasts these days, so it's a unique selling factor for you guys.
Yeah, that's why it took us 7 months to get you on. We had to coordinate who was going to pee on you, how they were going to get into your apartment, all of that stuff. Yeah, and we did it. So
exactly.
It's happening.
Yeah, how they're going to get in. Yeah, I'll be watching out for it. You
got to do anything for the content. But I saw today, we're talking about the places that you can and can't go. And just today, the Amber List came out, which I think lets you go to places and be able to come back without the required lockdown. And it's a long list. And by the way, I laughed so hard because I shouldn't have, but I think of somebody in the UK getting the Amber List on their phone and it's like an Amber Alert, and the Amber Alert is for like tragically missing children that are like,
we don't have Amber Alerts over here. Like that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing I knew about until like I spoke to Americans. We don't get Amber Alerts. It's just not a thing that exists. So like I was like, what's wrong with that? It's just called the Amber List. But now I kind of like see the problem.
Well, now that that's eased up,
the Amber Alert,
and pretty soon you'll have the option. Yeah, you'll have the option to go beyond, the goat yoga studio. Do you have do you have a list of like things that you want first?
It's coming. So the first thing on the agenda, which has been on the agenda for a long time, which I've been very public about, is I'm planning on doing like a big American road trip. With me and Wilbur, we're planning on it. Now, don't get me wrong, that plan is not in all concrete because it's very difficult to make it concrete with like the current climate. Because like we figured maybe like it's July now. Our original date was July, and now obviously it's like we couldn't really do that right now. But like now we're looking at doing it slightly later on in the year. But we want to do like we were originally going to do every single state. That was going to be it. We were going to try and do every state, and we thought about how long that would take. And we decided we were going to do like a big U shape, like from, I think it was Washington State over to New York in like, I think it was like a couple of months. It was the plan.
That's a long trip.
Whether that happens, it's a long trip. But with us, especially, I mean, now, this wasn't even the case at the time, but it's coincided really nicely with doing a lot of like the IRL content at the minute. It just coincides really nicely because like I basically all I'm doing at the moment is traveling to places and doing things and then getting it edited and uploading it. So just to organize that travel into a longer stint isn't particularly changing my workflow in any sense. So it kind of works nicely.
Now, how would you stream if you're spending 2 months on the road doing this like vacation basically?
That was something we were thinking about. It was either IRL streaming. Yeah, essentially. But no, so IRL streaming is obviously a big thing, and I don't have my own setup for it, but I know like people like Tubbo have them, and they're very fun. I've played around with Tubbos before. The IRL streaming stuff's always really fun, as well as just organizing it properly, like so we can just go to certain locations with computers and things. Like if we really plan it out like properly, then we can get that done. But it's we haven't planned this at all yet. It's still like it was kind of just something that we've spoke about, and we both publicly said we want to do this. But when and how is still very much like we need to work that out.
Do you have specific landmarks you want to hit?
Logistically tough.
That's an interesting question. I think definitely. I mean, obviously we'd be going to New York, so New York City, and there's all sorts of places. Obviously, we were going to do California, so looking at going to LA. But again, a lot of for me personally, I like meeting the people I know, and I've just spent a year basically like making, or like, I mean, as you said it in your thing, right? I started like a year ago, and like all of this happened to me in a year, and I've met so many people that none of which I've actually ever interacted with. And like going to America, like a lot of people are in California, a lot of people are in Texas. For me, it's like going to see everyone. Because like even now, like I'm traveling the UK, meeting the people that I've been unable to meet for like, all these months. So like, I really just enjoy doing that sort of stuff. So for me, it's more the people, not the places so much. But I definitely do want to like enjoy the places as well. And I've never been to America before, so.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the balance? Is like having doing stuff in your life that you enjoy versus getting content out of it? Like, is that the difficult thing with the style of stuff that you're trying to do?
Yeah, I see that. Like, it's a case of like, hey, we're doing a cool thing today. Why not make it into a video, right? And I tend to be of the mindset that I will organize everything that I want to film, like, in advance. And sometimes that's very short notice. Like, sometimes it could be 2 days prior. And be like, hey, everyone, let's get this sorted. But like, it's if we're filming, we all go in with the knowledge that we're filming before we even get there. We're not just going to show up to a place and be like, oh, we're having a lot of fun. Let's film this. I like to, because my friends are also the people that I make content with, I kind of like to make sure that when we do things, we know when we're filming or we're not filming. And like, because I think a lot of the time, a lot of us do just want to hang out and like, don't want cameras. So I think we go in with we go in with what we're doing in our minds.
I don't want to move on. I want to stick with this because it's really interesting. And I don't think it's something that we've talked about on this podcast before. But this whole YouTube thing, vlogger thing, it's been going on for a long enough now that you can see people who turn their entire lives into content. Like their entire lives into content. Everything that happens to them, whether it's, we are pregnant. I mean, you see this on the YouTube trending. There's at least like 3 pregnancy videos, announcements or gender reveals on like the YouTube trending page literally every single day. So from like dating and conception to getting married or just hanging out with your friends, there are plenty of people whose lives are all in front of the camera and all content. And I'm not like that. I've never been like that. I've never really been around people who have been like that. But it's always fascinated me in a way that I've wondered how much that warps your perspective on your life. Like seriously, like alters your perception of who you are and who your friends are. Like, I know this is getting like a little philosophical in a way, but to me it is like an existential question. If all of your life is content, then all of a sudden you kind of become an actor like full time. I mean, I guess in a way that like the Truman Show sort of was, but backwards, where instead of the guy not realizing he was content, it's like you are forcing that upon yourself. And at what
you're
point
intentionally putting it out
do you just like
there, right?
dissolve into this alter ego? Do you know what I mean?
And that's it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned the Truman Show because I saw a quote from Jim Carrey recently, basically speaking about that idea, and he said, what did he say? I think I'm paraphrasing, but the idea of it was like, when you build yourself a success, then ultimately at some point comes the decision of you either begin to live authentically as yourself and just run the risk of people hating who that is, as it's different to the person you created, or you let yourself die and you carry on living as this creation you built for the means of success. And I would imagine with what you're saying, that is the exact same thing that happens. Everyone who I think does content, I'm not saying this I'm not trying to accuse people of being disingenuous, but like, you don't show every element of yourself. You know what I mean? There's you amp up the parts of your personality that work well, and you tone down the parts that don't. Blah blah blah. It's like it's an abstraction of yourself. And I think if you're living your whole life under that abstraction, then it's like at which point do you completely lose yourself? And I would imagine it's possibly that it will happen to people, that or they'll have to stop. And at which point then does the content suffer? My guess is most likely. And it's like, are you willing to make that sacrifice? There's a sacrifice somewhere in there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Matt, didn't we talk about this recently? Not on the podcast, but just you and I, about this as it relates to like certain celebrities where they kind of go crazy because they don't really know.
Let's start naming names and throw people under the bus.
No, I don't think we have to do that. But I think we were talking about like musicians who tour constantly. Like, say you're some big musician, I don't know, whomever, you know, name a musician who you love and imagine them touring 300 days out of the year or whatever. Then when they get home, quote unquote, which is like a weird thing to these people who like live out of hotel rooms 85% of the time, they get kind of freaked out and they don't know who they are and they're kind of miserable because now they have to be with themselves and not surrounded by like fans and managers, and which is the majority of their life. Now the minority of their life is being kind of alone and at home with their, you know, wife and kids or whomever, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I don't know which person I am. It's weird.
One thing people don't realize is this is a thing that was a part of my life, even though I was no touring celebrity. I was just plain touring for a long time. But the thing about that is that you are always meeting people for the first time. And think about that every few days or every few weeks, whatever it is, you just meet people, and you can't get too much beyond like scratching the surface both ways, them and you, because you just don't have enough time to do that. But then you go home and you literally never see anything new. Like, especially for me, you know, my life is extremely simple. I don't live in a big area. The last time I met somebody new within like 5 miles of my house, literally years. I bet it's been like 8 years. And then you contrast that with going around doing stuff, whether it's making content, whether it's going to conferences, whether it's, you know, whatever you're doing. That different experience is something that is really jarring. You know, you go from just the same intros over and over again and the same conversations. You know, what do you think of the food here? Oh, I'm from New York, but it's not the New York you're thinking. I don't live in the city. You know, like, my God, it's like performing like a high school play over and over and over for like 5 years. But then it stops, you know, and that is jarring. It's really, really odd. So people don't respect how difficult that is for people from the celebrities down to the people who are bouncing around making the IRL content. I mean, it's very tough to hold that together.
Or even businessmen
really interesting.
who travel a lot. I would think their lives would be
anything.
Really weird
I think the point you made about meeting people. Yeah, no, I think the point you made about like constantly meeting people is very interesting, because like meeting people is like, if you think of like relationships forming with like other people, right? In any sense, it's like the start of every relationship is meeting that person, making that first impression, and you know, it's like, if you only experience that first part of like relationships with human beings for like months on end, and then all of a sudden you go back, and now everyone you're surrounded by, you already know. You don't have to introduce yourself to. You have to explore like the more in-depth conversation. That's weird. Like, that's a strange thing to do afterwards. Like, I think, and that's just anyone who travels a lot. Like, really, and that's a strange one. Like that must be a difficult one.
But I think that does just start to push and pull against the content, like Kevin's talking about. And I think some people absolutely thrive with that and actually enjoy and have their content made better by the pressure that those situations create. You know, other people kind of fade from it and really have to make a separation. I don't think there's any hard rule about how it plays out. Depends on the person, but it's tough either way to keep the content that everybody clearly likes, which is why you're in this position. Keep that going while you yourself personally are going through just all sorts of weird situations.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you already recognize that it is important to separate those things into like, okay, guys, we're going to plan this shoot and we're going to make this content because we're going to go get peed on by goats while we do yoga, is like a separate thing other than, you know, sitting around and like playing games or whatever that you're doing that's not public facing. It's amazing that you already have figured that out. I did want to ask though, as far as you doing these, like the YouTube videos, the vlogs and stuff, The energy is like off the charts. I watched the video with, I watched a few of them. One, you were going boating, and another one, you were just going shopping. You needed to get toilet paper. But the energy is crazy that you and your friends pull out of yourselves. I don't even know. And before we started recording, you talked about how you aren't even like a big caffeine guy. So do you just naturally exude like a tremendous amount of energy, or what?
So I think it comes more naturally to me than the rest of them, because what I'll find is we'll finish recordings and I'll still be like quite high energy, and the rest of them will be like, please be quiet for like 5 minutes. We've all been being loud for the past hour, and now we want to stop, and you are not stopping. Like I'm definitely, and before them as well, like a lot of people like going to like a right, I'm gonna be quite calm now, so I have all this energy for like, I just like get into it quite quick. But yeah, I find that we're all just quite like the energy of it's quite contagious. So like I think we all kind of bring each other up in the sense that once one of us like gets going, like we're all like, you know, bouncing off. But I don't know, it's something about it that's like, yeah, I'm quite a high energy person, and I think everyone else involved is. So yeah, it does. I mean, the fact that yeah, we went shopping and that somehow managed to be like a whole thing is quite fun. It's quite fun. I enjoyed that one. I mean, it's crazy now thinking about it, because like that at the time, it was, again, because of COVID, it was like, what can we do? And the answer was very little. So it was like, we'll do what we can do. We'll go to the shops and like, we'll just spin a narrative of it and make content. And, you know, people were looking for that because no one had seen anyone do anything in real life in months. So it was like, it was appealing. And now obviously everyone's doing in real life things again. Now, like the bar's raising, that's what you're on about with boats. It's like, well, the boats are the new shopping, and like in a month's time, like what's the next thing? Like going to space? Who knows? Like, you know, it's the bar's constantly raising with these things, which is very interesting. But like it just means we have more fun with it. It's like more excuses to do more fun things.
Yeah,
this is something when you watch your content, the people, you know, all the people you've mentioned that we've mentioned, they seem spontaneously fun. Like this is just a hilarious setting that we turned the camera on and you captured it. Do you think people realize the sheer amount of logistics and planning that go into something as simple as, you know, let's film ourselves shopping and see what happens? It seems like everybody in the Create Unknown community is getting new jobs. Some are just out of college, some are getting better jobs than they had. We had a Baby Gang member double his salary last week. Outstanding talent is out there searching, and if you need to fill a role or expand your team, now is the time to snag that talent. The fastest, easiest way to connect with professionals is LinkedIn Jobs. They have over 740 million people on the site that you can reach with a free job posting. Add some screening questions, narrow it down to exactly the right candidates for the position you need to fill. Filter down to the best, interview them, and do it all from your desktop or phone. LinkedIn Jobs will help you hire the right person for your role. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your first job for free at linkedin.com/create. That's linkedin.com/create to post your first job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And even if you're not ready to hire right now, get familiar with the platform, poke around a bit. You're going to need it eventually.
To be fair, sometimes with the shopping one, the planning, I'll say planning wise, not as big as you'd think. And like the one after that, the fishing one, the whole bit of that where like Tommy just runs off and goes get on a train, real, completely real. He just got up and left me and like actually did that. And then he called me while he was on it. He's like, look, I realized I just got up and left. I went and got on a train. It's gonna be really funny, trust me. And then just hung up. So there was a little bit of behind the scenes, but like, no, that was very authentic. We were just doing it. We were kind of like, we got there. We thought we'd just dick around and fish. And we were like, right, we're really like, we've kind of exhausted all like the comedy right now. He's like, I'm going to go have a walk, get an ice cream, see if there's anything to do on the way. And he spotted this train and he just went up to the lady and he was just like, how much to get on that? And she was just like she like told him how, I can't remember how much it was. And he's like, he just bought a ticket, got on. And I just like was like, cool, I'm just going to be on this train and film it. and like, there was this whole bit that didn't make it in the video because he didn't record the audio properly, but he like FaceTimed Tobo and like, it's like, it is quite spontaneous. Like a lot of the time it is just we'll organize where we're going and roughly what we're doing and that's it. Other times it's a little bit more like planned out. I mean, the boats took a lot of organizing. And that was awful to do because that was a very last minute plan. I had planned something else, which then fell through. So I had to like get in touch with like boat people. I was like, right, I came up with like we sat down, brainstormed some ideas. Like, right, boats, okay. And then like it was like 3 days prior to actually doing the video. I'm like, what if we got 2 boats and raced them? And then I was like, cool. Who will give me 2 boats? And then like I had to try and find 2 boats, and it was difficult to organize. But like when we got there, it was just like they're like, right, what do you want to do? I'm like, just take us out to sea, and then once we're like far enough out, race to the Isle of Wight, and then whoever wins and like and it's like I'm like, but do it cool, like don't just race, like do some cool stuff. And because obviously we can't drive boats, but the guys were so accommodating. That's one thing that always shocks me. People are so accommodating for like, because I'm very clear with people, like I kind of take the piss, like I'm always there to like kind of like take things very like I don't take things very seriously, and it's like people are very down just to have a lot of fun. And like a lot of the times when we've done things like this, the instructors or like the people orchestrating it are some of the funniest people. They like add to the videos because they'll say things and you'd be like, you're funny. it gives these people a time to shine, and they really go with it. So it's really, really funny. Like sometimes just there is a lot of planning in terms of like booking the places and knowing the idea and things like that. But in terms of like narrative, so like what actually happens in the video, that isn't much planning. That is more just like, we're gonna go there, we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna see where like it takes us. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously off camera there's a little bit of discussion of like, it'd be cool if we did this next, but like we keep it to a minimum. It's quite natural.
Kevin, people being excited about stuff when you show up and do it, that sounds really different from what it used to be like when you were like playing around with films and stuff, you know, a long time ago. Like if you showed up at like a grocery store with a VHS camera, like a video camera, it was going to be a problem in 1998. Like there's nobody was playing along with you, and nobody was going to be like, oh, film your video, have a ball, just don't break anything. No, but now it seems like attitudes have changed on that.
Yeah.
Is that a fair comparison?
Definitely. I'd say so. I think it's because like, gotta think about how many kids want to be YouTubers, right? They probably have it like 10 times a day. Like a kid going in there and filming their little vlog. Like they do that, like, you know, and don't get me wrong, like it's a different thing and all that. But like at the end of the day, the places where we just walk in and film, like the shop, that's a little bit different. Sometimes people do get sad. We've had it where they've been like, hey, could you not? No one's ever really rude. They're just like, hey, we'd prefer it if you didn't. And we're like, yeah, cool, we'll leave. The things we've booked, so like the boats, and like for like Tom's channel, we've done like, we drove tanks and like we went skydiving and things. Those people are like so accommodating. They're just like, whatever you want to do, we'll like try and facilitate it. And they're really good. The people that we like have been to for those things have been great. And even like when I took them golfing, which we didn't tell them we were going to film, there is 9 minutes of footage, which it didn't get used. We used like 30 seconds of it, but like there's 9 minutes of footage of us stood in the waiting room to go play mini golf with the woman who was like behind the counter, just riffing off of each other. And we were like kind of being like, we were being quite cheeky, to be fair. But she was just cool with it, and she was just playing along and asking us questions. And like there's bits where we were like, I hope you're all right with this, because we're just like, we understand we're being a little bit rude, but we're playing it up. We hope you don't mind. And she was so nice about it. Like that is something that happens. Just people are so accommodating, which is lovely, which is so nice.
This reminds me of the contrast of Nathan Barnett telling us about having to hide an SD card in his ass because he couldn't film in the airport.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Yeah. There's just no way. There's no way they'd do that to you now. Like even the places that have told us we can't film in there have never been like, hey, could you now delete it? They've just been like, hey, just stop now.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like, Nathan also tumbled down like a luggage cart, a luggage conveyor belt in the airport, which was like a little more over the top than just, you know, racing boats that he rented.
I get that. Yeah, no, that is we've never done anything like that.
and I would also like, for the record, to mention that Matt is right. For any listeners, for any Gen Z listeners out there, please note that when Matt and I were your age, if we walked into public with a camcorder to film something, we were creeps. That was a creepy thing to do, and people were suspicious and completely weirded out by that.
Creepy.
It was not at all normal. It was like, who is this person? What are they doing? Are they a serial killer?
Suspicious. Yeah, you were under suspicion the moment they noticed what you were doing. It was just a bad scene you were not going to be able to do a whole lot about.
I was always scared of that. When I first started doing them, I was always scared it was going to be like that. And then I noticed more and more, like, I'm so comfortable now just pulling out a camera and filming, like, in public. Because people, like, you get looks. Like, people will look. Because, like, it's like you're a guy talking to himself in the middle of, like yeah, they're going to look. But, like, they don't do anything beyond that. Like, they just look. And it's like, if you're okay with, like, people looking, then you're fine. Like, you're fine. The worst I've had is, like, a security guard, like, staring at us, like, quite intently, like, but, like, also not really being able to do anything because we were outside the store. We weren't in it, but, like, we were outside, and you could tell he was like, the second they step in here, I'm gonna take my chance. He was, like, really pissed, but that was it. That's the one we've had.
Did you ever hit a bad one, Kevin? Did you ever hit a situation that was a little off? I'm trying to think if there's been one since I've been doing stuff with you, and I remember some people on the cruise for the eclipse with Bonnie Tyler singing. That video about the solar eclipse. I remember people in the background on the cruise ship who were just there hanging out, like, on vacation to go on a cruise. You know, like, some of them, it's like, do I want to be in the background of a video when I'm wearing my bathing suit? No. You know, but, like, there was no thing. They just shuffled out of the frame, you know. But has there been anything that in what, 20 years or more, I guess, that is story worthy?
The only thing. Okay, so this was kind of creepy, the thing that I did, admittedly, but okay. So
oh, damn.
No.
All
right.
I hope so that goes in the show.
This is what happened. This is what happened. I wanted to get a shot of me walking through a supermarket, and I wanted it to be like from my perspective, as if the viewer were seeing through my eyes. So I had like a head strapped GoPro, basically like I could mount and like wear a GoPro camera on my forehead. But in order to not get like bothered or stopped or whatever, I did like a Homer Simpson thing where I cut a hole in a beanie in a hat and like a winter like knit cap. So I had the winter knit cap on, and then I cut a hole where the lens of the camera was so it could stick out. And so unless you were like looking at me straight on, you had no idea that I was wearing a camera. But I had like an undercover forehead camera, essentially. And it was fine. I walked through, I walked up and down the aisles. No one said anything, and I left. So anyway, what happened later, I was really proud of this. I thought it was awesome. I got great footage. It worked out really well. I took a photo of my little Homer Simpson like undercover spy rig, and I actually posted it on Facebook. This is years ago. And someone who I'm close with, like a close friend, a good friend of mine's wife, was really mad about it. And she replied, like, I thought it was like, haha, look at this funny thing I did. I walked around the supermarket with like this stupid, like Homer Simpson camera hat. And her response was like, I can't believe you did this. If I didn't know you and I saw you doing this, I would have like called the police on you. It was like a very elevated, like heightened, like freak out response. And I was like, really? Oh my God. Like, even if you felt that way, like you're that mad that you're going to tell me that? That was strange to me. And that's the one time where I did something like that I was like,
what did you
maybe
do with
I
the
shouldn't
beanie?
have done that. I don't know.
This is what we're all wondering. What did you do with the beanie after that shoot?
I think I threw it away. I mean, it had a huge hole cut in it.
It doesn't feel like it can be reused at that point unless you want to do more like creepy beanie cam footage. Like, I feel like that's its like one purpose, and then like you're kind of done with that. Like you know, it's done now.
I just start a second channel of creepy beanie cam footage. It's me walking around a zoo, walking around an aquarium, in church.
Just unedited. All the awkward, all the awkward little bits, like slightly strange interactions just left in.
Yeah, at the playground with the creepy beanie camera. Yeah, that probably, I guess that would be a problem.
Yeah, I can see.
If Vsauce 2 put that video out and it's like Vsauce 2 sitting on bench at the playground, that would get just, 7-8 million views. Probably like 5 million dislikes, but it would get the views.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Oh, Isaac in the chat is asking what video it was for. It's for a video called Where Am I? And it was this video that I made about consciousness of all things. And it's not a scientific video. It's more of an artistic video about like where you are in your own head. I don't know, whatever. That was my foray into being weird in public with a camera. But otherwise, I haven't done a whole lot of that because I'm too nervous about that. Like, I'm not outgoing enough to, race boats and wear captain's hats like you and your friends, Jack.
No, but I didn't think I didn't think I was. That's the thing. I remember the first time someone suggested I should go out in public and film. I was like, no way. Nah, it's not for me. And I just did it. I was like, oh, this is fine. And then just slowly, I'm just now so comfortable with it. I can go out, film what I want to in public. Because at the end of the day, I take it, the way I eventually start seeing it is this is my job. Like you look at me and you think, why is this guy filming in the parking, the car park of Asda? And it's because it's my job. And it's a strange job, I'll give you that. But it is my job and this is what I do. And it's and when I see it like that, it's because the reason people think it's weird is because they have no justification, right? They don't know why you're doing it. You're just doing it. And it's and you kind of put yourself in their shoes and you go, that's a bit weird. But then I'm well, no, because they're just missing information. There is a completely fine justification to me doing this. And it is that this is going to be used to make a video. So once I kind of rationalized it and went, oh, I know, I'm more cool with this than I first thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one thing that I really want to impart some wisdom on you about as an elder statesman here, and this is going to be seemingly very random, but it's something that I noticed, and that is in your shopping video with Tommy, you went to buy toilet paper and you bought the store brand toilet paper, which, okay, you're young, you can get away with that for now, but I would highly recommend spending the extra money on the good toilet paper because you only have one butthole.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, true. No, you know what? Now, when you put it that way, I realize how precious it is, Really, I should be looking after it. It's like a kidney. No, actually, you have two kidneys. You know what? It's even better than a kidney. Yeah. I should be looking after my arsehole more than I should my kidneys. You make a very good point.
You can even blow out a liver and get a transplant, but how are you going to get a butthole transplant? Do they exist?
Yeah, no, you know what? No, you put it like
I
that.
hope that exists.
They transplant organs. They don't transplant buttholes. You've made a very good argument. I'm going to be looking after that shit from now on. You've really made me think twice about how I'm treating it.
Wow, so I just Googled this, and anorectal transplantation in human cadavers was the top result here. A new surgical concept for rectal replacement. This, you know what, Kevin, you might be wrong. This is a generational thing. This next generation of kids, they're going to be able to blow out their ass and fix it. We didn't have that chance. It's like LASIK, our generation had to wear glasses. Now you get zapped in the eye. Well, eat whatever Taco Bell you want. Go to Nando's and order everything on the menu. Obliterate your ass. And just
spicy food.
Ring up the NHS. Be like, I know the technology is there. Help me out.
Need a new one.
Yeah.
I learned a new thing today. I did not know that existed. I'm glad we've had this. We've had this talk.
But wasn't
so much
the
harder
key
for us,
word
Kevin.
there cadaver? They're dead.
What's that?
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Okay.
That was a 2001 article, though. In 2014, there's one in a canine model. Yeah, we're making progress.
We've got 20 years of research on this. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
This is very real. This is a real possibility now. Oh my God.
Well, I think it's a good idea for an IRL video is to go get one of these.
Well, just to like research it. Just go out, go, hey, today I'm going to abuse my asshole so we can get a new one. You see how that sounds? Now I've said it out loud. I feel like maybe I shouldn't put it on YouTube. I feel like this is I feel like it's for a different site. It doesn't feel quite as appropriate now I've said it out loud.
I don't know. When you said it out loud, I thought it sounded like great content.
Yeah.
Instantly, like 50 million views.
There you go. I'm selling it for you.
Yeah. We
I feel like I probably would pull views. I feel like most people seeing that title would be like, what? Okay. What?
It'd
be pretty questionable.
We laugh, but 10 years from now, that's a Mr. Beast video if I've ever heard one.
Hey.
Jimmy Beast. Oh.
Yeah.
He gets up to some crazy things. Crazy things. Yeah,
we'll have to get Mr. Beast on here, and that will be the first question.
Oh my God. Isaac, in the episode chat, Isaac pulled up an Instagram photo of this creepy beanie cam from 224 weeks ago. What is that, 5 years?
No, it's it will be 2017. Yeah, 2017 the post.
Yeah. That's weird. Once you see it, it's like full on GoPro. I thought it was going to be a little tiny exposed circle or something, but no,
that's pretty full on. I really thought it'd be a little bit smaller. That's a very full on camera.
Excuse me, that was a small camera back in my day. That was
no. When you said back in your day, when you explained this to me, I didn't realize it was 2017. Like I was alive in 2017. I'm pretty sure cameras were smaller. Right? Like colonoscopies existed. I'm pretty sure like they weren't putting those up there, right? Like
where was I gonna get a colonoscopy camera? Those
I'm pretty sure Amazon
available.
Like I feel like if I look up on Amazon right now, colonoscopy kit. Oh wow, you can get the full kit.
Cameras though.
You can, yeah. Wireless inspection camera. £27.
What is the thing called? It's something scope, obviously, but it's a long camera, like they go down GI tracts, but you can actually get them because people buy them to inspect the barrels of guns. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't like look 20 inches down this tiny little barrel. You got to have a light and a camera. I've definitely seen them that like hook up on your iPhone, so you can have pretty excellent capabilities with that stuff. So yeah, Kevin, I mean, you could have been less creepy, and you chose not to be.
Yeah, well,
I don't think this was available in 2017. I refuse to believe.
It was outwardly creepy, but then again, looking at his purchasing history and seeing colonoscopy camera probably would have been more inwardly creepy. So, I mean, it's like a mixed bag, you know?
There's really no way to win on this.
Yeah, no, there really isn't. No, the whole idea was just doomed.
It was just bad from the start. Yeah. Oh, well. Well, I have a really important question to ask you that I can't let you off at all without asking you.
Oh no.
Oh.
What is Dream SMP? What does that even mean? What is this? Like listen, for your fans who don't know this podcast must recognize that I'm a 97-year-old person. Mm-hmm. So I'm not hip with the lingo. I don't know anything about Minecraft. What is Dream SMP? I know it's a private Minecraft server that was started by Dream.
Yes. So, the first thing is like, what is an SMP, right? Because the first time I joined an SMP, I didn't know what it was. But it just literally stands for survival multiplayer. So it's just like a Minecraft survival multiplayer world. They've been going on for years. Like the earliest one I can think of is like Hermitcraft off the top of my head. So like it's no new concept at all. The Dream SMP, obviously it's Dream's SMP. You know, he just invited a bunch of people onto this survival multiplayer server. And then beyond that, that's basically it. Like that is essentially the surface level description of what the Dream SMP is. It's just Dream's survival multiplayer Minecraft server that he invited some people he knows onto, and like that's it. Beyond that, it really slowly became like a role playing server in which everyone has characters and there's a story and there's all these interactions and nations and you know, it's been going on for just over a year now. I'm coming up on being in it for a year, I think next month. Maybe this month, actually. Might be the end of it. It's like soon. Like I would have been on the server for about a year coming soon. And it's changed so much. It's like, it's now like this story-driven, you know, Minecraft thing, where before it was just, we literally were just on a Minecraft server, just playing the game, you know?
But how do you get a story out of this? Is there any way to describe that to somebody like me who doesn't understand?
Yeah, and that's, I suppose it's just like people are playing Minecraft and they take on characters, and through that they just create these relationships. So the first real big bit of story was the disc war, which was Tommy had these discs that he really liked and Dream stole them, and it caused wars. And then they formed all the British people on the server formed this nation, L'Manberg, which was just basically a ripoff of the story of America based on Hamilton. Like it was, and it was like, so we had like this nation, and then the nation got blown up, and then by Dream, and then I joined the server, and then L'Manberg rebuilt itself. L'Manberg was this nation, by the way. And then there was like L'Manberg versus the rest of the Dream SMP, the wider Dream SMP, and then that all fell apart, and people died, and there's so much to pick apart. There was there's this canon live system where people can only die 3 times before they're killed off permanently, which isn't strictly true. But there's that's the base rule, and things like that. It's all very interesting. There's a lot to it. I don't know if I could sit down right now and give you like a plot synopsis. And equally, because there's so many people on the story all telling on the server telling their own individual stories, I'm sure I don't know it all. Like I'm actually certain I don't know it all. There's elements that I'm like, I wasn't involved in that part. And my way of going at it is like, if my character wouldn't know what's going on, I also probably don't know what's going on. I kind of only look into the parts that I should know about as a character. It's not massively scripted. I mean, no, it is scripted. Sorry, it's not scripted down to the word, but like the events and stuff. It's public knowledge that we plan all this stuff. Scripted improv, is the best way of putting it. It started off more improv, and then we start putting more time into the story and stuff. There's people like Quackity who are doing like full pre-recorded, like scripted bits of story that are very, very, I mean, I'm sure he's got like a long-term plan going into months in advance. You know what I mean? It's like, there's so much to it. It's very, very big at this point. Like it's beyond, at this point it's beyond a Minecraft server. Well, no, it's not. It's still a Minecraft server. But the point is, like, there's this story that really stretches out beyond it, and people have went off and made their own like headcanons and animations and told their own stories and stuff. It's a real big thing compared to what it started out as, which was just Dream's survival multiplayer server.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a wild combination. I can't think of anything else quite like it, because what you just described, it mixes video gaming. It mixes like almost like an endless D&D campaign.
Yeah, kind of.
It mixes elements of a reality show, of a soap opera. Plus, every individual person has their own stuff going on. Like I can watch your stream and it's just you, and you talk about the you things, not the Dream SMP character.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's such a strange mix. I cannot think, and Kevin, if you can, jump in.
No, I was going to ask
anything that combines these elements.
I was going to put you on the spot with this. I was going to be like, all right, I can't think of anything. Matt, I know you're good at connecting dots. What can you compare this to? And you can't either. And I would love, Jack, if you can like elucidate a little bit more on how popular this is. Because if anyone is listening to this podcast, they don't know Tommy, they don't know Dream, they don't know Jack. We talked to Quackity so long ago, it was well before any of this stuff.
Of course.
Can you in any way describe how like ludicrously, like unbelievably popular this is? Like the numbers, the people who are invested in this, it's really unreal.
It's so big at this point. It's like, for me, it was like, well, I joined the server having averaged about 100 viewers on Twitch and went instantly to averaging 1,000. And through no one even knowing who I was. Like, they were just like, oh, this is the new guy. We're all going to go watch him. That was like, no, like anything beyond that point, it's like, it boosts you up to it definitely boosts everyone up to a few thousand viewers. Guaranteed. You're on that server, But, the boost is insane. So, like, that's one thing. Like the big streams, the big lore streams, the real pivotal moments in the story are, as like some of the biggest streams on Twitch. I'm pretty sure one of them, I don't remember exactly which stream, is like the 3rd biggest Twitch stream that ever happened. In terms of viewership, I think it was like 700,000 viewers peak.
Mm-hmm.
Twitch's biggest being 2 million. The one behind that being 1 million. 1 point something million anyway. yeah, it's like it is not quite. I'm sure in some sense it is, but like it is near record breaking in terms of its size, and it's very shocking because like most things up until that point that had that viewership were events, like actually organized events, and not just like this one Minecraft server that has a story going on, and hey, here's a big part of the story us guys are writing. I think the most viewed stream on Twitch was 2.2 million peak. I want to say that's my guess, and it was some Fortnite player revealing some stuff that he had with involvement to the game. And then behind that, it was a Twitch. I think something Twitch did themselves. But I might be wrong. And then it was the Dream SMP. So that's kind of like the size of it. And the community around it as well. Like the most viewed Dream SMP video up until a while ago was made by a fan. It was a fan animation surrounding the server. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not even the content we're making that's big. It's the content that other people are making. Someone just linked it in your chat. Thank you, live viewers. But no, it has 19 million views, the first big popular Dream SMP animatic. It's not even content made by anyone who's on the server. This is just content surrounding it. It's unfathomably large. And it's I'm not going to take any credit for that. It's people, especially, I think the people like really to blame for that, like Tommy, Wilbur, like Wilbur especially. Wilbur was definitely at the forefront of writing a lot of the lore stuff. Dream himself, of course, like those three guys especially were like the big like kind of in terms of writing the story stuff. Those guys really did what they could. I've done my own story, but I like to run my own. The stuff I did, I really liked to run alongside the main story. Partially out of necessity to do that, and partially out of I quite like doing it that way. So I did my character as like I consider my character as like a almost like a B plot to what's mainly going on. So like Tommy, I would say, looking at the server, like objectively through like which stuff is the main story really revolves around Tommy and Dream. Dream doesn't really stream on the server, interestingly, for it being his own server. So most of it's told from Tommy's perspective. I would land him in the protagonist role. And then my character was once a friend of his who Tommy really kind of backstabbed. So I took on this like kind of silly B plot villain role who's like constantly trying to sabotage Tommy, who always fails due to like no real fault of his own, usually just kind of things going wrong. And I really enjoyed that. And then like there was parts where it got more serious. There was a time where Tommy was killed off for a while before he came back, and I really explored that from my character's perspective of being someone who was like once a friend of Tommy's to then being like someone who hated him, and then it was like exploring the emotion of all he'd ever tried to do was kill him, and then he dies, and you go, oh, I actually still feel really shit because not only was I not the one to do this thing I've been trying to do for months, this is also now I've came to realize with him gone that I actually kind of deep down just missed the friend I lost. And like I liked exploring that sort of serious side of a character that I'd written as being quite goofy, and like people compare him to Dr. Doofenshmirtz. That's the comparison that I get a lot with the character I kind of wrote. Dr. Doofenshmirtz, you met Phineas and Ferb. I possibly am too young. I now realize, now I say that. But Phineas and Ferb, Dr. Doofenshmirtz was the big comparison I used to get. Or like Megamind as well. If you remember the plot of Megamind, when he loses Mega Man and like he's like, oh, what do I do with myself? My whole life revolved around trying to foil this guy, and I've done it, and I'm now purposeless. There was an element of that and stuff. But I can't remember where I was going with this exactly. But like, I think the point I was trying to make is like the main story that's so big. There's that, and then there's also like everyone else has their own little subplot. So I wrote my own story, that was like running alongside the main plot, because I took a big break from social media for like 2 months just after I joined the server, and the main story carried on without me because everyone was like, oh, he's not here, we'll just carry on. So when I got back, I didn't really have a place in it. So I was like, right, how do I get back involved with this? Because it was like a huge thing. I'm like, I'm not losing this opportunity. So I wrote myself like a plot that I didn't want to ruin what they'd created and like get too involved. I'm like, how do I just run alongside and like make something that kind of bases itself off it? And that's the approach I took. And I think a few other people have taken similar approaches as well. But yeah, I think what I was trying to get at is I've kind of gone a little bit off track, but the point is like scale wise, there's this main story that's done like Tommy's stream that almost broke records and like things like that. which a lot of people know, and what the animatics are based off and stuff. Then like everyone else has their own little things they're doing, and like, you know, they still pull like huge numbers. You know, like everyone who streams on it, Foolish Gamers, a guy who streams on the server. You know, he was pulling like 20K average viewers a day, just like building a big mansion on there. You know, like it's even the stuff that isn't story is just like so insanely popular. It's so huge. It's so huge. It's crazy to me because like I definitely fell into content creation. It wasn't something that I really worked at for a really long time and kind of came on with. It's like I've been friends with Wilbur for 3 years, 4 years, maybe. I can't remember. I've been friends with Wilbur for a long time. And he was just kind of like, hey, do you want to join this other SMP that he did a while ago called SMP Earth, which was a creator server? And I went, yeah, sure. Like I'd never streamed before, really. I'd streamed a couple of times. And I joined it and became friends with Tommy. And then he invited me to the Dream SMP back when it was smaller and it wasn't this huge thing. It was big, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't big, like huge like it is now. So to think that I like to be part of a project that is so big, like is so crazy to me because it was so by chance that I fell onto it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is a big project and I'm totally the guy that made it happen. Like, no, it's just, I'm very luckily part of this big project that I've had a lot of fun with. It's like how I like to look at it. Yeah.
Well, when you hear in the news all the different media things that the ratings are down, it's like, oh, this sports ratings are terrible, and no one's going to the movies anymore. What happened to Hollywood? And oh my gosh, everybody's cutting the cord. Like TV ratings plummet. It's like, gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because these children have created the most amazing piece of entertainment imaginable in human history that combines like a soap opera with reality television, with video gaming and interactivity, with social media and personality, with competition, with like a narrative story arc. It's like, it has everything. And you wonder why people aren't like lining up to watch some reboot of some movie that they never saw in the first place 35 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you gave it a lot of credit there. But just, you said, like, best piece of media ever was like quite a stretch. But like, I think, I think just social media in general. I have done some things that kind of involved more mainstream. I've been involved in more mainstream productions, kind of social media, but like companies on social media, you know. And it's like you see it, and it's like it's still like these companies just don't quite have a grasp of what is landing right now. I feel whenever I see it, I'm like, I wouldn't go about it this way. I feel like it would land if you did it this way. And like, it's very strange. I always wonder where these execs come up with their ideas and how they just miss the mark. And how like there's so many individuals that I could like name right now who are doing it right. And it's like, how did they figure it out? And like this board of execs can't, because I don't feel like it's that difficult. It's very weird. It's like, you know, I don't know. I find it very interesting that like they're so unwilling to adapt when it's so clear that what people, you know, you see all these people rising out of the blue on social media constantly. And I don't understand why it hasn't been mimicked in the mainstream quite. And when they attempt it, it's never quite right. I want to know what is causing it to fail every time, and I don't quite know what it is.
It's really hard to convince those places to relax and let something happen.
Yeah,
like they want to have such a strong sense of, here's what we're going to do and what we're going to put into this. Here's our estimate for how it's going to play out and what we're going to get out of it. And, you know, that's how they compare options and make decisions and choose a path. And like, nothing works that way. Nothing in real life works that way. Like zero does, not even in media.
No.
But like if you try to live your life on like cost benefit analysis of every single thing, it's going to be a complete disaster.
Yeah, no, I describe what we do as like the most unorganized like field of work I've ever been involved in. It's so disorganized, but I think it's to its benefit. Like I think a lot of the spontaneity of it all is why it kind of does. Is that a word? Did I make a word up just then, or was that
spontaneity?
Spontaneity. That's what I'm trying to say. I knew it sounded wrong when I said it. Close. I was close. I knew it's getting late in the UK. Anyway, but like, yeah, the spontaneity of it all is like, it's don't get me, yeah, like, it's like it is very disorganized, but it works. I feel like because it's disorganized, people are so much more willing to just kind of let things run free, like you say, and I think that's what works in its favor. And don't get me wrong, I can see your admin in the chat now saying how much disorganized YouTubers paying them. And I kind of get that, and I can imagine it, and I know it does because, hey, I have to organize all these vlog recordings around disorganized YouTubers. Trust me, I'm probably the most, I have to be very organized for certain elements of things, like especially with the vlog recordings, because obviously we have to deal with like real companies that like have these facilities to, do it. And it's like, I can see why it's nightmarish, but at the same time, I think the way that how disorderly it is almost helps it.
Yeah. The other thing is involving lots of people becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know how to describe this all that well, but like I think it just comes down to, I think probably the simplest way to articulate it is like the more people involved, the more people that are going to throw their opinion in and nothing will get done. And everything takes forever.
True,
because
that's very true.
This person wanted to do this thing, but that person wouldn't approve it. And you have like some sort of bureaucratic hierarchy.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah,
that ruins progress
and creativity
in every way. It crushes creativity.
Yeah, no, I think that's also
bullshit is absolutely logarithmic. Like it's not quite exponential, but yeah, it plays that logarithmic game as you start adding people, and it's a big reason why with this podcast with Vsauce 2, like Kevin keeps it tight. There aren't 50 trillion people who do different things. Well, that's why both of them have worked in large part, because it's been easy to manage like that.
Big teams are difficult, man.
Yeah, it's difficult, but at the same time, what you described with the Minecraft server is chaos that thrives on having many different people with their main plot access and their own sub stories and their you mentioned B plot. I'm sure there's stuff down to F and G plot with that complexity.
No, probably.
So it absolutely pays off though. Like when you get it right, as you guys have, it's absolutely amazing. It's a symphony.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but at the same time, I think you make a good point of it gets more difficult the more people you add. The more people we've added, the more difficult it's been to organize. And I'm not saying it's made it worse. It's just made it like so much more work because like you have to make sure that everyone's character who they've individually written, so you don't always know what everyone's about, is kind of accounted for. And all of a sudden it's like the last thing any of us want to do, especially me, because this just annoys me in media, is like inadvertently retcon something someone else wrote. You know what I mean? Like like having consistencies. Like, wait, but their thing says this and their thing says this. These don't quite work. I'm confused as a viewer. I hate that. Like with a passion. And the more people you add, that gets a lot harder. But it's like I think equally having this big cast of people keeps it fresh and chaotic, like you say. And every new person we add adds a new thing to the server. It's like it's very interesting.
Yeah, but the other thing is like everybody knows what they're doing, and that's really important because the other thing with these like big companies is once you get to a certain level, all of a sudden you have people involved who no one is really quite sure what their job is. and this is going to sound mean. Matt's cringing because I'm bringing this up, but sorry, it's true. I mean, this trope was made fun of in the movie Office Space by Mike Judge, which if you haven't seen that movie, definitely watch it. It's absolutely hilarious because it's based on his real experience working in an office. And there's this whole like running joke, famous joke from Office Space where this company comes in to like audit the workers and figure out like who is doing what in the company. And there's this line where they're like, what exactly would you say you do here? And that is a serious problem.
It's real.
It's a real problem that you have people involved in this process, in decision-making processes, where it's like, what would you say you do here other than, kind of muck things up and slow things down? It's a problem.
Kevin, do you remember the call that Oh, you weren't on it. Oh, okay. You were traveling. I was on it. Where there were 10 people on this call. I was one of them, plus 9 others. And it was for us to explain the concept for a video to somebody who was sponsoring it. I'd love to shout them out, but no. Throw them under the bus. There a total of 10 people. Like the one person who coordinated the 2 parties, like that's cool. They were
That makes sense,
around
of course.
because they're around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the one person on, kind of the production end of those people. So it really was me talking to that person with the coordinator hanging out and maybe answering a question or two. There were 7 other people on this call, right down to ones that had absolutely no business in the media side, the creative side. They literally ran a portion of this organization for what it really did. Like, I don't even know at this point, years later, why they were on that call. But it's 2 people talking and then literally 7 people creeping around in the shadows, jumping in, interjecting, finding objections. And when people are not involved like that, the only contribution they can have that's viable is objections. Like that's the easiest thing in the world is to contribute, is to be like, oh, well, are you sure that's going to work? Or what about this concern I've just pulled out of my freshly transplanted anus? It's nuts. And that call was absolutely maddening. And like, it's the only time that I've had to kind of say something rude on a professional call, because one person was just going bananas on kind of shutting things down. I'm like, you don't even do this stuff. Whatever it is you do here, I know it's not in this realm. So can you just let us talk? But it's bananas. Like, Kevin's making it out to be bad. It's even worse.
No, I get that.
What would you say you do here? I want to do another quick non sequitur before we end up going to our patrons' questions. And it's something that I want to throw out to the both of you. I need some help. I have a bird, specifically a cardinal, who is pecking at my windows every single day, different windows. Sometimes it'll fly around the house and just smash into the windows. And I don't know what to do about this. Obviously, I would love a humane way to explain to this bird to stop smashing into my windows. That would be like the nice, peaceful thing to do. On the other hand, like hitting it with a bat would be really, really satisfying at this point.
Oh my God.
So I would love.
It's that disruptive.
It's guys, you like, it's hard for me to describe how horrible this is. It's so loud. There's no way to muffle it. I have sound dampening in my studio, like nice sound dampening all around my studio, and it does nothing to deaden the sound of this bird's beaked face smashing into my windows repeatedly. It'll go thunk, 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 fly to a branch and then come back. Thunk, 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 all day for no reason. And this has been going on for about 2 weeks. And I tweeted about this, and several people have said that they had the same problem for up to 6 months. I cannot go on living this way. So like real solutions, humorous solutions, humane solutions, murderous solutions, I'm open to it all. Let me hear your thoughts.
I mean, murderous solutions, you can't answer your own question with murderous solutions. I think you said that, and it's like, well, I mean, it's an option. You can totally, I don't know how legal nor humane that is, but an option. You could also, why is it pecking at a window? What? I'm trying to think, like, what's weird. The bet? Like, because, like, what? They peck into wood for, like, what? Food, usually birds, right? It's like, what does it think it's achieving? What does it think it's achieving is what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
It's fighting its reflection. It thinks it's another bird. That's the only thing I can think of.
Potentially, yeah. No, that does make sense.
So I think I have a suggestion here, a real one. I do want to say what the chat has suggested, which is largely for you to open your windows and let him in.
Okay. Okay.
That's a viable option.
So let me say that somebody on Twitter suggested that, and they said that actually worked, that the bird flew in, freaked out, flew out, and then never
came back. That's possibly a good idea, actually. Now you say that, I think that might be a good idea.
Huh. So my reaction is like, okay, what does a cardinal fear? Like a hawk or something like that. A hawk would be a good one.
Yeah.
I don't think a cardinal could go up against a hawk. So you just hit up the inkjet and print out like 15 monstrous hawk pictures and just put them in your windows until this stops. Like he's going to come up to the window and see Mega Hawk and just get, freaked out and leave.
Yes.
That could work.
That's such a good idea. I should do this. Yes, like a beautiful hawk, realistic high-res photo. I'll print it out on photo paper and just glue it to the window or scotch tape it to the window. Or
if
the
you skimp on
windows,
quality, you'll know it's not real. So
yeah, he'll be like, ugh, what is that, a dot matrix?
If he fights Megahawk, then this whole conversation has changed because you'll have to have respect for him.
Yeah.
Like it's a
move
different
out at that
class
point.
of problem.
Give him the house. I feel like at that point, if he's willing to take on a hawk, he's earned the house. It's his now. It's his house.
Yeah.
You give that house away.
All right. Fair enough. Well, I'm going to try your hawk technique, and I'll come back next week on next week's episode of The Create Unknown with an update on my cardinal, and you'll all listen to how Matt's suggestion worked. And if it didn't work, I'm going to buy a gun. That will be the next week. Kevin buys a shotgun and hangs out his second floor window with it.
I can, yeah. I mean,
aiming it at the road.
We can pretty much promise results on that one at least. So,
yes, I will be arrested.
Probably
that will be the result. I'll be in jail, and the bird will still be pecking at my window while I'm rotting in a jail cell. All right. Well, I know we have a million questions from our patrons, so
we got a bunch.
Let's transition into those.
Of course,
we got a bunch. The first one is from Isaac. Did you ever get a Whopper?
Yeah, I did. I did get one. I don't really like beef that much. So the fact that the Whopper thing is like the thing I'm associated with really heavily at the moment really amuses me, because it was Christmas Eve and I was a bit drunk, and Will went to Burger King, and I just asked him if he got a Whopper, but really weirdly because I was drunk and I thought it'd be funny, and it kind of just resurfaced like a month ago, no, like probably 2 months ago now actually, and it was just like, oh, all right. I guess this is like a joke. This is like a meme now. I guess it's been memed. So I went and bought a Whopper, like specifically just to like make a TikTok about it because relevant meme, right? But I don't even like them. Like I just don't really like beef that much. Beef has to be really, really like cooked. Like it has to be cooked well. Like you have to prepare beef good for me to enjoy it. Because like I just don't enjoy it like that much. I'd much rather just get chicken. But I did get a Whopper. To answer the question, did I enjoy it? It's okay. It's better than McDonald's.
Like how many out of 10? Give it a number.
Oh, like a 6. Like it's decent food. I'd eat it. Like
fair.
It's like a 6. It's fine.
Yeah. So it's not like a liability if you have to eat a Whopper.
No, like if someone gave me one, like I could eat that. Like I don't really dislike it. I just don't particularly enjoy it. Like I'd just go for something else.
Okay. Well, this one is on the Dream SMP topic. When are we getting more Dream SMP lore?
I don't know that. There's nothing that I know of. I know it's not done. I know we're not done with it, so it's definitely coming. But I don't know exactly when anything's going to be happening. I don't know when anything of my own is going to be happening. Even I really, it's all very. I think it's returning. For some people, at least, it's returning more to that improv side of things that it used to be very heavily reliant on. So that's my answer. It's more improv-y at the moment, it seems. So I think it's very difficult to say.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose you'll find out when you find out.
Yeah, I'll find out when I find out, and so will they. They'll find out as it happens.
Yeah, that's cool. Trevor asked what the best benefit was when you took that long break from social media. And actually, if you can you say why that happened? Or like, did you just hit a point where you wanted to break?
Yeah, I was for a while before I got to a point where I could like kind of live off of what I do. I was doing full-time work, 9 to 5 every day, going to university at the same time, and streaming. So I was just under a lot of pressure to do things. I was sleeping like 3 hours a day because there just wasn't enough hours to get everything done. Yeah, it was like 3-4 hours a night. I'd go into work. I'd like barely I'd be like this at my desk. I remember like my boss coming over once, and I swear I'd been asleep prior to him walking over. Like it was just like I was just struggling. Really like in a big cope era. And then I was like, sat there doing that, and then I'd go home and like study a bit. Luckily, the university wasn't too heavy. I was only in my first year, and it was all done online because of COVID. So at least I wasn't having to travel too much either. But it was just a lot, and it just led to like I was like, this is a lot, and the thing that I was in control of to take a break from was the internet because that was always my thing. And I just like, just mental health generally not great. Possibly as a result of that, but also just generally human beings can get sad. And it was just like, I think I just need this break. And I took the break for a little bit longer than I intended. I went, it was my luck that as I was like, I think I feel better. And then my computer like exploded. I had to like get it replaced. So like it added a couple of weeks onto the break. But the main benefit was just getting myself back into a decent mental state. I self-admittedly will say, and still to this day, I'm so much better at it now. I don't have a very good relationship with work. I'm one of those people that like feels like I should be constantly working, and hold very high standards for work and things like that. Like I just don't have a very good relationship with it. So to be doing 3 things at once and being a person who strives to do the very best in everything, I was like the big discovery that I came to, like my big like moment where I went like that made me feel a lot better was I wanted to be giving 100% to everything I was doing, and all the time I'd be like, I want to quit work, no, I want to quit streaming. It's like I wanted to quit one because it would free up the time to give 100% to the other things. And I kind of sat down and I remember I was like having a chat and I was like, it was kind of like this realization of like, what if I can't give 100% to everything? What if I only have 100% as a person? And I should choose how I distribute that 100% amongst my life. And I'm someone who values hard work. And so I feel like I should always be giving 100%, but I shouldn't always be giving 100% to everything. I should be allocating parts of my effort to different things, where I was trying to give all my effort to everything at once, which is not possible. It's just not how like maths works, like, and that was the big thing that I learned. So that was like the big part of taking a break was learning that lesson. That was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me shift gears on this.
Of course.
This you talked about this earlier today about the content being generated from people outside Dream SMP.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on fan channels reposting clips and segments from your content? Because it's a fairly recent phenomenon, and there are people on both sides of it. Some seem to hate this, having their stuff sliced up by somebody else. Others are like, hey, this is great, do what you want and put it out there. Where do you fall on that?
I don't have a black and white answer entirely. It's like clips, compilations, things like that I'm generally pretty cool with. I'm not going to make them myself. I'm very aware of that. Like there's no way on earth I'm going to sit down and make a compilation. Like it's just not the content I make. But there's a market for that content, and if people want to fill that hole, then go for it. And I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I don't benefit from that. It gets my content out to audiences. It basically, the more of me that is on YouTube, the more likely people are going to encounter it. And while I'm not putting my efforts into creating a type of content, I don't mind other people taking that role on for me. What I didn't like was like people uploading full streams, because like I have a VODs channel that is like ever so slightly edited, where I basically upload my streams after they're done. And other people doing that, but quicker than me, because I do put a little bit of editing on them, is frustrating because it takes away from something I am actively working on. It basically, if people are, my content is mine first and foremost. And if I plan on using it to forward whatever I'm doing, then other people like basically filling that gap before I do is very frustrating. Like, because like it actively, it negatively impacts what I'm doing. But if I'm not going to be filling that hole myself, cool, go for it. Yeah, sure. It gets me out there, and also like hopefully you benefit from it too if you're making the content.
Yeah, I think that's an issue that's going to continue to be relevant
100%
in coming years. It's going to be a big
streaming's
one.
getting bigger and bigger.
I do think
streaming's the big kind of target for that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the nuance that you just threw out there, I think, is pretty awesome. It would be nice to have everybody kind of hit it like that.
I think so.
This one's about skydiving vlogs.
Yes.
How did that go? And I'm going to combine 2 questions on this. And how have the vlogs been going anyway? Have you shot any with the boys that just didn't work out?
Not yet. I thought maybe that like there's been a couple where I came away thinking this didn't work, but sent it to the editor because I'm like, I'm not having went to all that ever at least not trying to get a product out of this, and it's always came back fine. I'm quite a critical person, and I often assume that things have gone a lot worse than they have. My most popular video is a video I honestly thought I was going to scrap, the fishing vlog. I came away from that thinking, I'm going to scrap this. This did not go well. I didn't enjoy it. I came away stressed because I thought it didn't go down well. And it is my most viewed video to this day. You know what I mean? It's like, so as of yet, they've all been pretty good. To say the skydiving one is probably my favorite I've recorded. I would say the only one that is out being close would be the boats. And we recorded one the other day, which I can't speak about yet because it's not for my channel, it's for Tom's. That might be my new favorite. I really enjoyed it. But I can't really speak about what that was. But skydiving's up there. It was a real good experience. And to have footage, like people go skydiving, but to like have video footage, and I have the raw footage from I got Tom sent it me of like you like watching yourself skydive back afterwards is like another experience in itself, because you experience it and you're like, cool. But then you're like, I wonder how I reacted to that, like from an outsider's perspective. It's very weird to watch yourself like fall from the sky. Because you do these things that you don't even realize you're doing in the moment. It's like, so that it was a very cool experience. I really enjoyed that.
Well, this one is from Dan the Latch, and I usually rephrase questions in a way that's natural for me to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to this time. I'm going to read this one verbatim. You and your Minecraft cohorts have garnered a following of children and young people, a minority of which is more akin to the first 8 plagues of Egypt than a group of fans. What is your approach to dealing with this juvenile horde? And in your opinion, where do you think other content creators go wrong when trying to do the same?
That's a very... Okay, so I kind of get where it's like, it's a hard question to answer, because it's like, I personally don't feel like I've seen much of my audience personally on that side of 8th plague of Egypt. Like, and I know what you're referring to because I've seen it. There are sides. It's mainly Twitter that it's bad on, like the Twitter stands, as people say. There is like, the side of it. I don't think personally I've had too much of a bad time. But I've seen people like that, and it's like, I don't know. It's the best thing. Dealing with it's hard. I feel like the whole parasocial relationships thing comes up a lot nowadays. And I think, And I think the more of a the more you encourage that type of relationship, I tend to find the worse that gets, because people irrationally defend their friends, right? Like, your friend does a kind of shitty thing, but they're your friend, so you kind of back them up, where objectively, if they were someone you didn't know, you might not have done. You know what I mean? Like, you have a small bias, even if you claim you don't. And I think the more you form that parasocial relationship where your viewers see you as their friend, they're more likely to just have your back regardless. And that often leads to this toxic sort of like, somewhat like, I don't know, someone tweets, I don't like Jack Manifold, and some person who like kind of sees me as their friend goes, hey, fuck you. Like, I like Jack Manifold, I'm going to defend him. And it's like, you don't have to defend me. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's a big thing. I think Twitter can be bad. I don't think it's as bad as people claim. I don't think the whole thing is as bad as people claim. I think there's a very, very vocal minority. And honestly, the majority of people in our community are lovely and very accepting and incredibly tolerant. But there's a side that oftentimes mean well, but handle things incredibly poorly. They're either defending something they care about, or they're trying to be, forward thinking and trying to enforce that on people. But people go about it in an aggressive way, and it usually never works in anyone's favor. And I think when you see it, especially from your community, discouraging it is the best way to go about it. And I think certain people do fail to do that occasionally.
Sure.
But I don't think the issue is as bad as people claim. I think people see things that really rub them up the wrong way and go, these stands are bad. And I'm like, no, that person was pretty bad. I feel like en masse, these people aren't that bad. But, that's just me. Of course, I'm going to have this bias where I'm on the good side of it, because the community people are talking about are my viewers. And I'm not going to sit here and like berate them, And I'm not saying that like out of like because I don't want to, because like I see every side, and from my point of view, I've seen negative stuff, but I think I see it very, very rarely. That's my answer to that. I think it's a difficult one. I don't know if I quite answered that, but that's my opinion on the whole thing.
No,
it's such a
that makes a lot of sense.
People ask me that a lot. It's like the main thing off stream. It's like, how do you handle the stands, man? It's like, they're so bad. And I'm like, they're really not. They're usually incredibly supportive, especially of me. It's just when like they just go after certain things really hard and it becomes a bit of a bandwagon. And like, we should just discourage that when it happens. But I don't feel like it's an issue en masse, like people claim. I think that's where I sit on that.
Well, I think, when you said you weren't sure how good that answer was, number one, it was amazing. Number two, I think it's perfectly fair to point out that there's an element that you cannot control and will never, ever be able to control. And then there's some stuff that you can do to encourage the better behavior as opposed to the bad stuff. And that seems like a good like middle ground reality of how to think about the worst of the stands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's how I like to see it.
We'll jump back to a feel-good thing. You've always had YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. Pretty much, it's been around your whole life. Yep. Who did you watch when you were younger that influenced Jack Manifold
today? So, you see, because I can tell you who influenced me to start originally when I was like 10. So I used to watch a lot of Sky Does Minecraft, and I basically just mimicked what he was doing to no success. But like, when I was like 10 years old, and like Jacksepticeye as well. And it's cool to say that I think I've like interacted with both those guys at some point now. It's like, I was watching Vsauce actually since I was like 10 as well. It's like, how I found Vsauce? This is a cool one to tell. I was in my barber's getting my hair cut, and he had a newspaper. And I was bored, and I was 10, and there was nothing to do. And I just quickly looked at the newspaper. And YouTube was obviously just picking up, right? I'm 10, so what's this? 2012, 13 sort of time. When you were getting like the big viral videos, like that sort of era, I feel like when, you were getting a lot of stuff like that. And there was this newspaper article, and it was just like, here's 3 YouTubers that we think you should check out. And it was Yogscast, Vsauce, and something else. I can't remember the other one. And I was like, and I just read about what each of them were, and I'm like, I'm gonna look that Vsauce one up. And then like, so I've been watching for like a long time. It was very cool. As much as it took me like 7 months to get back to you to get on the show, I did really appreciate you inviting me, because it was very cool to me. It's still, I still have this like very surreal feeling when I speak to people that I've known of for such a long time. But yeah, no, it's like, it's crazy to me. I know almost like to some degree, almost all the people I grew up watching. And that's such a cool feeling. Because to me, it's like I've always, I never seriously thought I'd ever do this as a job, but I've always in the back of my mind wanted to, as I think most people do. Like most kids nowadays, probably if you ask them, would be like, yeah, I want to be a YouTuber. How many of them really, it's like how many people would you ask if they wanted to be an actor when they were young? It's like most people would probably say they did, but like realistically, most people never thought they would do it. And like I was in that thing. It's like I wanted to be a pilot at one point, and I wanted to like go into software engineering. Was the last thing I was doing before this. But like in the back of my mind, if you'd have like came up to me and went, I can confirm to you right now, you could be a YouTuber. Do you want it? I'd say yes. So it's like I really, I think because of the fact that I grew up with this, it feels very surreal to me that I'm like doing it. It's like when my golden play button showed up from YouTube, that was weird. It's like having watched people receive those, like having watched people get those over the years and be like, yo, it's so cool that my favorite YouTuber just got that thing. So then going, I just got the thing. Like, it's like, it's so weird to have myself in the shoes of people I've been watching for so long. It's very weird. I still can't quite reconcile it. Like, I'm still not always quite sure. Not like quite, like I like it's still like sometimes I worded that poorly. It was like I'm still sometimes like have these moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is what I do. It's very weird. It's still not like quite real to me in my head.
I would love to point out real quick that it was a newspaper that introduced you to Vsauce,
I know,
which is hilarious. Like, I don't know
weird?
why, like a telegram or like
funny.
the town crier wasn't available at that point. But I'm glad that the newspaper
It's so weird.
could tell you about
like,
Vsauce.
It's so weird. Like I think that I always that I stick with that because I think how weird is that to find a YouTube channel through the local newspaper. It's such a strange thing, but like genuinely true. Like that is honestly where I found it. I remember it distinctly because of it. Really weird.
So just a few minutes ago, we got epic information. Kevin's going to drop that at the end. If you're one of those people that leaves with like 5 minutes left to go, don't do it this time. Don't be that person. It's going to be worth it. We've got a banger to announce. Kevin's going to do that, but we've got a question or two before. And this one is from Ben, who he works with us on production and is just kind of rapidly gaining skills in all facets of production and management stuff. And he says that you have a pretty solid business sense that's pretty rare. And I'd agree with him. Rare among the content creators. It's just you're grounded in a way others aren't. Do you have a long-term goal in media way beyond what you're doing right now? Or do you just want to ride this and see what happens?
I think I'm in the ride this and see what happens category. There's things I probably want to try. It's like the momentum I have right now, I think I'll run with until it's over. But like, I think when it's over, hopefully I'd still like to be doing this as a bit of a hobby thing and explore things that like this, I really, on YouTube, the thing I mainly watch is like media analysis and review. So like game reviews, game analysis, like movie, and I'm really big into movies and production and stuff. So like I would love to sit down and do my own film review, and I don't think that I'd land with my current audience like at all. I can speak about films sometimes on stream because people like to hear what you're interested in, but I don't think like a full video where I really sat down, it wouldn't be worth my while. It's not the audience I've cultivated, and that's fine by me. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing, but I think in the long term I'll probably, once this momentum's gone, which one day it will be, it always is, I would like to explore trying to create the stuff I watch myself. That would be very cool. That would be very cool for me. Also, thank you for what you said about me being grounded. And so I feel like that was a very nice compliment to like not acknowledge. Thank you it's very kind.
It's real, and like the things I mentioned in the intro, I use those specifics because I literally listened to you say them today about like, I've got these two phones. I separate things here. I don't put myself in a position anymore where I'm rolling out of bed and jumping on stream. Like the fact that you recognize you needed to separate them and then did that in a very sensible, clear way. Like we've dealt with so many people over, 10, 12 years, and usually it is pulling teeth to get people to think that way. And so to have somebody just naturally kind of do it and be like, that's cool. Now I'm going to just be better at both things, being me and doing my content. I
feel like in my circle, though, a lot of us think like that. I don't feel like I'm the only one. I feel like Tommy, for example, is also very much like, he really values having that separation. And there's plenty of other people who like, I remember I think the place I first heard, I can't remember who it was. There's this one YouTuber we met for the first time, and we just kind of went, any advice? Because we were all small at this point. It's like, any advice? And he didn't give us any advice on creating content at all. Nothing at all. He just went, make sure you make sure you're still happy. Like, make sure you are living your life healthy and happy and looking after yourself. Because it's so easy to not doing this. It's like so easy to like put everything like the content first. And it's like, make sure you are still living a happy and healthy life alongside it. It will do you so much in the long run because you won't burn out and disappear. Because it happens. Like there's these people that go so hard for like a year, and then they just like, they've been killing themselves for that whole year, and they get to the end and it's like, I cannot bear this any longer. But they could have had a completely healthy, like 5-10 year long career, given they just slow down a bit. And like, there's a reason I don't stream daily or put out a video every week, or like, it's because it's like, I'd be killing myself and I don't want to do it. I'm 18 years old, and I see it as like, I could have been in university getting pissed every weekend and like just having fun, or I'm doing this. And I love the fact that I'm doing this, but it requires me to be a little bit more organized and a little bit more mature. But ultimately I still want to give myself 18-year-old time where like I'm a boy and I go do silly things, because like, I don't want to miss out on that part of life. It's still like, I think it's a big part of life, and I don't want to lose that. So I make an effort to still have it, even though someone in chat says, gotta be a real boy. That's a very good way of putting it. Very, very good way of putting it. Gotta be a real boy still.
It's funny though. Sorry to interrupt real quick.
Go on. Yeah.
you speak like an old man who
Yeah.
has been reincarnated, and like you're using the life lessons that you screwed up in your previous life to do things right this time.
Maybe that's
It's
the
like
case.
it's like
eh?
some weird movie. Like I feel like this is some bizarre movie where it's like, Jack 2.0, and you're like, I'm going to give it a second chance, and this time I'm going to do things the right way.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I get told a lot that I come off older than I am. People tend to be shocked. I the other day was telling someone about how I'm planning on moving soon. It's like, oh, it's great to be getting your own place at like 24, man. It's like most people don't move out to like nearing their 30s. I'm like, I ain't 24, bro. Like, it's like a lot of people just assume I'm older than I am, and I don't think it's because of the way I look. Like a lot of people are like, you don't look older. I'm like, no, I think I look my age.
No.
I think it's
It's a mindset thing.
It's the way I talk and stuff. I was that kid that at the party went and sat with the adults. Like I was that kid. I've always enjoyed older company, and I think it rubs off. Like it naturally has to. Like all my friends, not all of them, because obviously I have like Tommy and Tubbo who are like 17, but like en masse, generally most of my friends are like in their 20s. Like I just get on with people who are a little bit older. Usually, and I don't know why that is. I've never thought about it, but like it's just so I think I just have this older mindset as a result of being around older people. I don't think it's a case of like I've spent time being introspective or something. I think it's just like you are what you surround yourself with. And
I just came up with the title of your movie, by the way. You want to hear it?
Go for it.
The 18-year-old boomer.
At work.
That's you. It's a spiritual successor to the 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah, no, that is yeah. I take it as a compliment though, because I suppose I could also see it as being called boring, but no, I take it as a compliment.
No, you're gonna be running circles around people, and by the time you do hit 24, it's gonna be
you're gonna be retired and titled. It's gonna be Sir Jack Manifold.
That's right.
By that time,
yes, you'll be knighted.
Yeah, wait till
the Queen will still be alive, and she will.
She probably will. The Queen probably still will be alive, and she'll probably be adding
yes.
YouTubers to the honors list. By the time you've hit like 110, you probably just be like, "Fuck it, give the bin man the fucking honors list." It's like you're sick of it at that point.
Well, you mentioned Tommy and Tubbo.
Yes.
We want to end on that with the patron questions. What are some of the first memorable interactions you had with these other content creators when you first met them? Tommy, Nicky, Wilbur, Tubbo, all of them.
Oh God, Will, I met. I used to watch Will, so I was a viewer of his. That's actually where it started. Back when Soot House was what he was doing, and he was quite small at the time. He had like 50k subs, and he just did like a little event night in his Discord, and I joined it, and I made him laugh. So we just kind of became friends. And like just spoke pretty infrequently for like 3 years, like on and off. And he just invited me to this server, and I got into content creation. And obviously now working together, we just became closer. So me and Will, we've known each other for a long time, off of the back of just like it was a debate night. That was what it was in his Discord. People like arguing things, but he was giving me these arguments. He was like, argue that the UK office is better than the US one, and someone had to argue the opposite. But I was just coming up with these like really dumb responses, like, "Oh, my dad thinks it's better, so it is." Like it was just like I was just giving him these really stupid responses, but like they were making him laugh, and he was like, "Well, yeah, you can't argue with that." And like, it's like we just had a lot of fun. And I met Tommy my first day on SMP Earth, which Will invited me to. Was Tommy just joined the call, and I just kind of clowned on him a little bit because he said something that just made me laugh. And he just was like, "Hey, you seem fun. Let's like speak sometime," and we just became friends. And Tubbo was how do I meet Tubbo? Oh, Tommy invited me to do a server with him, and I met Tubbo on that. I basically meet everyone through everyone else. Is the tale of events. Me and Tubbo. Actually, I became like closer friends with Tubbo first. So Tommy, like we were kind of close, and then I became close friends with Tubbo, and then I joined those guys in a lot of things, and now they're like me and Tommy. Just coincidentally through meeting through this creator server, also just lived really close together. And we didn't realize until meeting online, which is very weird to meet on an international creator server and realize that you live in driving distance. Like, and I can just like show up at his house and like we can like hang out. So like now we hang out all the time, and like he's like one of my closest friends just in general, like outside of content creation. And then Nicky I just met through the Dream SMP, and we I kind of forced that friendship really weirdly, and it's very funny because we are genuinely very good friends. But it was just kind of a case of everyone was having these duos at the time. It's like there was Tommy and Tubbo, and like Tubbo and Rambo. And no, it was originally Tommy and Tubbo, and then Tubbo and Rambo started doing things together. And then it was like Tommy and Wilbur were doing things together, and there's Bad Boy Halo and Skeppy, and like there's these like pairs of two, and I didn't have anyone. And I just turned around and on stream called Nikki and went, "Do you want to be the next pairing? Do you want to be the next duo?" And when she went, "Yeah," and we just kind of like forced this friendship, but we are now genuinely very, very close. And like I'm going to see her like in 2 days. Like, you know, it's like, you know, it's
Nice.
like, you know, it's very weird. But yeah, meeting those guys was great. I honestly don't remember the first time I ever spoke to Nikki though. You said that and I was like, it was on the Dream SMP and it was probably just a little bit awkward, but like, it was fun. I remember meeting everyone for the first time is usually just me kind of taking the piss. My whole thing was usually just kind of like, I'm very non-serious, especially on stream. You know, and like even to the point where like I've cooked for Tubbo's whole family live on stream. And they were like shouting over and I was just like riffing on them as well, despite the fact that I met them the same day. Like I'm very comfortable.
You cooked? What did you make?
We barbecue food. We just cooked on the barbecue. Me and Tubbo don't really cook often though, so it was pretty bad. His dad, we basically just kept asking his dad, is that cooked food? Does that food looks maybe cooked? Is that cooked food? But it was very fun. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, my main thing is like if I'm on stream, I hate like there's certain people like Shovel, for example, are like people I've only ever met while live, and I'm like, God, you must think I'm terrible because like I'm so what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of like jokey and like I'll kind of be a little bit rude and like I'll kind of take the piss, and I usually ask like kind of awkward questions because I think it's funny. And I'm not like that off stream particularly, but like on stream, it's like, cause it's for content. But like, if you met me for the first time on stream, I'm like, if you then still put up with me afterwards, you like, bless your soul. Cause I was probably just not the most pleasant person. At least that's what I think. I feel like if I met me for the first time while I was in streaming mode, I would be like, all right, I'm not going to speak to that guy no more.
Well, I want to thank all of our patrons for those questions. I have one question for you. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to do the big announcement and
drop a bomb.
I'm going to drop the TCU bomb, and then we'll call it a night. So my question, this is something that occasionally we like to ask our guests because, you know, it's really important thing. We're all on the internet. Mm-hmm. It's something to think about. And it's this. Mm-hmm. Jack Manifold, what is your fursona?
What is my fursona? I can't say this is a question I've been thinking about. I can't say this has ever been something that crossed my mind. I've encountered one real life furry, and like let's think. God.
Well, what was that fursona that you encountered? To buy you a few
it was like
seconds
a big red fox
encounter?
And what I think was a lab coat. It was at like some gaming convention I was at. Like the first time, like, oh my God, furries are real. Like they exist.
Dr. Fox.
Dr. Fox, aye. But let's think. I don't know. I you know what? Just because to be contrarian, I would be like one of the scaly ones because they're not furry and like it's different. Just like something like a dragon or just something really out there because it's different. Or fuck it, you know what? Like be a rodent. Who's a rodent? Ain't no one a rodent in the furry community. I want to be a rat. I want to be a big, gross rat. Because who does that? Yeah, that's what I'm going to be. A big, disgusting rat. That's good. I changed my mind immediately from the scary thing. Big, disgusting rat. No one does that. That's funny. Yeah.
A rat in
Can that wear a lab coat too?
Maybe it can wear a rat coat.
Trench coat.
Yeah, it can wear like a little. It can wear a trench coat. Speak all weird. Yeah. No, I like that one.
I like that.
That's a good answer.
That'll work. Yes. Mm-hmm. We will accept that. That is an acceptable answer. Rat in a trench coat. All right. This was episode 99. Next week we have episode 100 of The Create Unknown. We are cracking triple digits, and as a result, we are bringing back probably the first face that will be etched in the TCU Mount Rushmore. None other than the feculent goblin himself, Psychic Pebbles, will be joining us next week.
Yes.
So I hope that you all are around for that. We are extremely, extremely excited about that. So that's the TCU bomb. We'll have Psychic Pebbles next Wednesday, next TCU night. And as far as tonight, I just want to say, Jack, this has been fantastic. You are wise beyond your years, even if you are the 18-year-old boomer. I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
It's fine, man. No, I appreciate it.
That's the comedy biz, and the fact is, we will all be working for you someday. So please keep me in mind when you're hiring at your like gigantic like Manifold Corp.
Manifold Corp.
5 years.
I like Manifold Corp. That's a good name. Yeah.
Sounds serious. Sounds like a steel shipping, shipping container.
Yeah,
company.
I like that.
It could be. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
He could be doing steel shipping
ship
containers in 5 years.
Just because no one expects it from the Minecraft streamer. To start shipping steel to places.
It's possible. And the mascot will be a rat in a trench coat.
And it'll just make no sense. No one will understand why that's the case. And I'll never care to explain. I'll just let them sit with it. I'll just let them sit with that and figure it out. And they'll never do it because there's just no correlation between steel and rats. But fuck it.
Well, we'll know the truth. Thanks to all of our patrons for hanging out with us, all of the lurkers. If you want to become a patron of TCU and keep the show alive, kicking week after week, go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Start as a $2 tot. It's a good potato particle nugget shaped gateway drug into becoming part of the Create Unknown. And again, t-shirts are on their way. So get ready to cover your torso in TCU. Thanks again, Jack, for hanging out with us. This was a pleasure. And thank you for explaining the whole Dream SMP thing.
Hey, you're welcome.
I didn't get it.
You are welcome.
I do now.
I know. Now you can safely use Twitter again. So you're welcome.
I can go back.
You can go back.
I know.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Who knows? But you can.
I can. It's an option.
It is an option for
all right,
you.
everyone. We're out of here. See you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We'd like to extend a huge thank you and congratulations to the Tots and Dumpster crew who save tiny little lives every single month. A tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders. Linus, our newest. Trevsdead, Boromir, Botdogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. And thanks to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Maffasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Triple Question Mark, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria Marco, Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jelksies, and Dan the Latch. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer Dan Yosua and producer-editor Ben Webster. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.